Welcome to Sculpture Studios. We were sent some images from a nightclub somewhere in London where a rocket was carried through the venue with various people riding it. We were contacted by a client at Belvedere Vodka asking for a similar design for their promotional use at another club location. We were given a rough design and estimated dimensions, and we began by creating the main body. We rotated this on a turntable in order to create a true round form, and we'd added the rocket tail wings later. Even if we weren't using a turntable, it would be best for us to keep the sculpture upright when we're carving, so that any imperfections could be seen clearly, especially with a symmetrical shape like this. Once we have a finished polystyrene pattern, it's sanded down and a soft plaster filler is added. We do this because the plaster is relatively easy to rub back and is much easier to clean up than the glass fibre that the cast is going to be made from. It's better to get the pattern as smooth as possible at this stage to minimise any unnecessary cleaning up later on in the process. We then proceed to create a waste plaster mould. This means the mould is designed and is only durable enough to take one cast from, as one cast is all we need. The mould itself is then disposed of. We start by building up walls of clay on either side of the rocket to divide the mould pieces so that it splits into two. We begin by splashing the plaster on to ensure we've hit the whole surface, and to avoid touching and damaging the pattern as much as possible. We go on with thicker layers of plaster, and then add a scrim material to give it more strength, and this makes the mould less brittle. Battens are then added to the back, so it keeps its rigidity when it comes to releasing the mould from the pattern. Once the first half is complete, we remove the clay wall divide, so the second half butts up against the first. Even with all the added strength and support on the back of the mould, plaster Paris is relatively fragile, and the master polystyrene pattern, as you can see here, is very rarely left completely intact when the mould is released. We really don't want to have to start the whole pattern making process from scratch, so we need to be careful when removing this. With a good knowledge of the materials from previous experience, we know that the plaster Paris material is much stronger than the plaster filler we put on the pattern. We also know that our plaster Paris can withstand the force and the strength of a jet wash, so this excess plaster filler that came off in the mould can easily be cleaned out without damaging the mould itself. As we wanted to get straight on with laying up the cast, we added several layers of shellac to prevent any moisture from the plaster Paris from affecting the resin and glass fibre. This also doubles up as a release agent, and here you can see we've added clay sections to the mould where small pieces might be missing. 2 glass fibre casts are then made, laid up in the usual way as you can see from our other videos, and it's made nice and strong. We use Class O rated resin for fire ratings for internal use. The mould is then disposed of and the 2 casts are taken, joined back to back, and the seam line is filled and cleaned up. We give the cast a spray of black to see which areas need cleaning up and further work. We always refer back to concept images, and here you can see Jess professionally modelling the rocket to confirm that it's the right shape and determining the correct angle it should be positioned at. Whilst all the pattern and mould making process has been going on, we had metalwork designed and manufactured simultaneously, so there are no hold-ups with meeting the deadline. This metalwork will provide stability and give the rocket points at which to lift it by. We've created a trapdoor here so we can access the internal metalwork structure and any electronics that will be installed inside. We're starting work on the tail section, where 3 identical fins will be created. We begin by making a master pattern, taking a fiberglass mould so that 3 casts can be made, and cleaning up the interior of the mould before we start laying up inside. We add a release agent and let this dry, and we lay up with a gel coat and glass fibre, the same materials as the rocket body. When the casts are extracted, they're joined together in 2 halves, the same as the rocket itself, and the seam lines are filled and cleaned up. We measure around and position the fins on the rocket body, and give the whole thing a respray and a rub down again to see how it looks as one unit. At this point we'd received the metalwork to position and secure the rocket, and here we are offering it up. Via the trapdoor this is all laminated in, so it's nice and secure. Once the surface is ready for artworking, the whole piece is given a spray of grey primer, with the intended outcome to be a silver grey 2K car body finish. The hardener in the paint ensures that the exterior is nice and tough. without having any detailed representations on the saddle sections that were built into the original rockets in the concept image, we added our own metalwork that could house a standard saddle strong enough to carry the rider. With multiple applications of the car body paint added, we buffed this up and polished the whole thing several times in order to get a really brilliant finish. We also had a perspex dome created for the front of the rocket, and then we installed electrics on the inside. Here we're using LED lights for a minimal heat build-up, a good level of light for the amount of power they use, and unlike regular bulbs, far less risk of them needing replacing. The battery packs could be changed on the inside of the rocket via the trapdoor, and we even added an external set of switches for each alternating colour. The client sent us graphics of the Belvedere Vodka logo that they wanted printed on the side, and we had these made in vinyl transfers, and we added them as a finishing touch. So there we have it, one silver rocket made for Belvedere Vodka. Please feel free to leave any comments below, as they're always appreciated, and hit the subscribe button for our latest videos. You can like Sculpture Studios on Facebook, and for more of our work, visit sculpturestudios.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching.